The technology around us is expanding and improving every single day, and it's happening at lightning speed. Along those lines, flying cars have only been in movies or in cartoons, and today there are a handful of companies that are spearheading the technology in eVTOLs, or electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. And there's a lot of people that feel that that will never come to reality, but I believe it's going to become mainstream in 3 to 5 years. In fact, Cathie Woods and several other major investors are beginning to bet big into the eVTOL sector. And that's why I'll be covering the top 6 eVTOL companies that have the potential for amazing growth over the next 7 years. In fact, one of them may become the next Tesla in that time, especially since it's estimated that the eVTOL market will be worth $97 billion by 2030, with an annual growth rate of 11% each year. But in my opinion, this estimate is severely understated simply because last year, the 2030 estimate for eVTOLs was at $30 billion. So in 1 year, the estimate for 2030 has more than tripled. And for those of you not familiar with eVTOLs, they're a large-scale version of drones that can carry passengers or payloads for relatively short distances of around 10 to 250 miles. The benefits are intended to reduce traffic congestion in cities, improve commuting to and from airports, help provide medical care and assistance in remote areas, and also used in disaster relief. And I believe that is just simply a sliver of what the benefits could be. And I'll openly admit that eVTOLs have some very strong headwinds to overcome before they can truly get off the ground. The biggest concern is safety, which will require exhaustive testing to meet the FAA requirements. The next big issue to overcome is regulation. The airspace around cities is already crowded, and new regulations will need to be put into place to safely integrate eVTOLs into the air traffic system, especially if they plan to automate the piloting over time. And since I used to be an aircraft controller in the military, where I used to direct aircraft during electronic warfare training missions, I understand the importance of having the regulations and systems ironed out before a mainstream launch. And the last major hurdle for eVTOLs is going to be cost. The development costs are monumental, and the production costs will take years to hit enough volume to decrease the overall costs. And it's for all of those reasons that I believe eVTOLs are to be looked at as a long-term investment. They may go years with minimal growth, but once the barriers are lifted, then I expect the stock to have incredible growth. Now with that covered, let's get started with the first eVTOL company that has great potential for growth, and that would be Vertical Aerospace, which is a British-based aerospace company, where their flagship aircraft is the VX4, which is equipped to carry 4 passengers and a pilot up to 100 miles as a quiet and emission-free mode of transportation. In the short term, Vertical Aerospace is looking to get FAA certification in 2024, where they have already logged over 1,000 test flights. They also expect to begin commercial operations as soon as 2025. The company is also looking to build out the entire eVTOL ecosystem, from production, the development of the aircraft, but also the development of the infrastructure and services needed to support these aircraft. And as a side note, Vertical Aerospace has a large set of investors such as Microsoft, Boeing Horizon X, Rolls-Royce, and American Airlines, just to name a few. But when it comes to the financials of these companies, they're all in horrible shape because they're all in startup mode. But as a comparison, I will share the stock prices for each. And as of today, Vertical Aerospace is trading at $1.10 with a year-to-date of negative 67.2%. This is one of the few eVTOLs that are negative for the year, which may give it more potential for growth if they can start to hit their milestones. The next company to cover is 𝐴𝐻, which is a Chinese company founded in 2014, where they've already completed over 9,000 test flights across China. Their flagship aircraft is the EH216, where it will carry only 2 passengers up to 18 miles on a charge, and it is intended to be a fully autonomous vehicle. 𝐴𝐻 is looking to have certification this year from the Civil Aviation Administration of China, which is like the FAA within the United States. If they can achieve the certification this year, they intend to have commercial operations up and running by 2025. A major difference between 𝐴𝐻 and all other companies is that it has major backing and support from the Chinese government, which may give them an edge when it comes to the timing for commercialization. They look to beat most Western nations by 1 to 3 years in having their fleet in the air and fully operational. But because it is fully autonomous with no pilot on board, I believe they're going to be very limited on the number of countries that they can actually operate in. But something to keep in mind is that it's estimated that China is going to make up 25% of the eVTOL market demand. So if 𝐬𝐭 only stays in China, it probably won't hurt them that much. As for the company performance, the 𝐬𝐭 stock is trading at $18.30, and it's up 113.7% year to date. In my opinion, this is a great company to consider for international exposure, and also due to the fact that they're simply leading the pack as far as timing and production in all of their operations. I want to take a moment and thank today's sponsor, Max Power Mining, where they seek to educate people like us on who they are and why they are a key stakeholder in providing us a domestic source of lithium. And the reason that's important is because most everything that you use that has a battery, like our phones, electric cars, and now soon to be eVTOLs, they all rely on lithium batteries. And it is estimated that today's demand of 500,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent will grow to 4 million tons by 2030, which is more than a 300% increase in less than 10 years. Sadly, there's only one lithium mine in the US that provides only 3.6% of the world's lithium. And with the demand skyrocketing, so has the price, where it's gone from $6,000 a ton to over $78,000 a ton in less than 2 years. Currently, Max Power is a leading landowner in Quebec, in a region called Nunavik, where there is a high potential for lithium mining. So much so that the company Cobalt Metals, which is backed by Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, is also excited about that region. Demand for lithium is only going to grow more over time, and we need more domestic options so we can be self-sufficient. If you'd like to learn more about Max Power, I'll have a link in the description below. I'll now move on to the next company of Eve Air Mobility, which is a subsidiary of Embraer, which happens to be a Brazilian aerospace manufacturer that has been around for over 50 years. Currently, they are looking to start prototype production in 2023 and begin their test campaign in 2024, with a goal of launching in 2026. Their flagship vessel is set to carry 4 passengers with a pilot, and up to 6 passengers if it can become fully autonomous, all while boasting to be 90% quieter than a comparable helicopter. The aircraft from Eve comes in with one of the shortest ranges of only 60 miles, but it's only intended to be used as an urban air mobility vehicle. And it happens to be that one of their key investors is United Airlines, where they've committed to purchase 200 eVTOLs to begin operations in San Francisco as a network of urban air mobility. From there, United intends to utilize the eVTOLs to transport customers to and from the airport from locations within the city. And because Eve is a subsidiary of Embraer, they already have access to a network of resources that understand the key constraints within eVTOLs that I mentioned earlier, such as safety, regulation, and cost. As of today, the stock is trading at $10.57, and their year-to-date is up 7.2%. In some ways, Eve seems to be either in the middle or towards the back of the pack, but given their resources and their manufacturing knowledge of aerospace, they could easily become a leader within a couple of years. Before moving on, I have a favor to ask of you. If you like my content, I'd greatly appreciate if you consider pressing the like button so my content here on YouTube can grow. And better yet, I'd love it if you'd consider subscribing so you can be up to date with all of my latest content. The next company to review is Lilium, which is a German-based aerospace company which is slightly different from the other companies in one major way. And that difference is due to it being considered a jet, because it utilizes jet turbine engines versus having large open rotor blades like most eVTOL. And the top speed for their aircraft is an estimated 155 miles per hour, which is faster than most other commercial eVTOL that I'm going to be speaking to today. It also happens to be more of a luxury iteration of the eVTOL, where it has a 4-passenger and a 6-passenger configuration option. To date, they've received 745 pre-orders on their aircraft that is geared towards private luxury, and a lesser portion towards commercial entities. And an item that I like about Lilium over all other eVTOL companies is that they have a roadmap to creating electric conventional takeoff and landing, or eCTOL aircraft. Lilium should have a major head start in creating electric jet turbines, which may give them a long-term advantage in a different way than all the other basic eVTOL that I'm speaking to. As of today, Lilium is trading at $1, and it's down 16.9% year to date. And as I stated earlier, they are very different from all other eVTOL companies, in that they're focused on long range and higher speeds for that luxury market in the short term, with aspirations of creating conventional long-range electric vehicles that can take on more passengers over time. The next company is Joby Aviation, which has been around for over 10 years, and they've already logged over 1,000 flights. Their aircraft will have one pilot and up to 4 passengers, where it can fly up to 200 miles per hour and up to a range of 150 miles. And I love how Joby provides more focus on how quiet their eVTOL is compared to all other aircraft. Noise pollution is often the concern that I hear from people regarding drones and eVTOL, and Joby has proven that their craft is substantially quieter than most helicopters and planes. And an area where Joby differs from others is that it's fairly mature in the sector, where they've partnered with NASA in the past to work on joint projects in electric flight. In addition, they're also working with Toyota, a key investor within Joby, to work on the production and manufacturing process. In my opinion, working with Toyota gives them an incredible advantage with regards to production quality. I think we can all attest that Toyotas are paramount when it comes to quality. Joby has also created a partnership with Uber to integrate their aerial ride-sharing service into the Uber app for when they plan their launch in the US market. And when you combine the Toyota production knowledge with the Uber app to get quickly in front of the consumer, I think this is going to prove to be a very winning combination for Joby. And I'll also share that Delta is a major investor into Joby, where it may offer the airline more short-range options within their portfolio, similar to what United is also trying to do. As of today, Joby is trading at $7.02 with a year-to-date at 105.2%. Overall, Joby looks to be ahead of most of the eVTOL companies, where they plan to launch in 2024 and they've already passed quite a few of their FAA requirements already. I like their position and the fact that they have so many strong partners supporting them along the way. And the next company is Archer Aviation, whose eVTOL name is Midnight, and it has a range of 100 miles with a top speed of 150 miles per hour. And they already have a strong goal of launching 6,000 aircraft by 2030. And their first customer was United Airlines with a purchase of 100 eVTOL. And to help get Archer off the ground with their manufacturing, they partnered with a company called Stellantis, which is an automaker with brands like Jeep, Chrysler, and Dodge, where they plan to have a production facility in Georgia to build this Midnight aircraft. And another key partnership has been with the Department of Defense, which recently paid off when Archer was awarded a $142 million contract with the US Air Force. And it just so happens that the contract was written where all other branches of government can piggyback onto this contract and place additional projects in place, which could greatly increase the value of this contract for Archer. They recently received the FAA green light for special airworthiness, which allows them to initiate flight test operations. This sets them up to transition to 4-credit testing of piloted Midnight aircraft in 2024. As of today, Archer is trading at $7.14, and it's up 269% year to date. As a heads up, ARC Innovations and Cathie Woods have recently bought big into Archer, and it's really showing in the stock price today. And of course, there are some people that have very mixed feelings about Cathie Woods' performance, but I believe that her bet on eVTOLs is well placed. Overall, there's going to be thousands of new jobs for pilots, manufacturing, ground crews, and hub locations for launching and takeoffs of these new style of aircraft. The overall cost, maintenance costs, and safety is quickly going to surpass helicopters, and it's currently considered to be 6 times less costly than helicopters. And once battery technology improves, of course, longer flights and locations are going to open up over time. But if eVTOL stock is too much in the clouds for you to stomach, then I do have a great video on artificial intelligence that you might find a little bit more grounded.